What's up everyone? It's me again. My name is Carlos if we haven't met, and I want to wish you a happy new year. Yes, it's still a brand new year. 2021 is only days into it. It feels like a decade, but I promise you we're only into, the third week. And so because we're in a brand new year, we as a eYTH fam, we're taking time to reflect. And we're in a series that we are calling Reflections. And what we're doing is we're asking ourselves, what are some areas that we can learn from that we experienced in 2020? How can we use 2020 as a learning and growing experience, as painful as that might be? So that's what we're doing. We're gonna be doing that today. But before we do, I do wanna just kind of do like a check of who knows me. I wanna ask a question that will reveal how much do you think you know me, Carlos? And that question, that challenge is simple. Can you guess the top 3 shows that I recommend that came out in 2020? Top 3. Ready? Go. Well, if you haven't guessed all 3 by now, then you type too slow. But not in any particular order, I want to reveal now the top 3 shows that I recommend that came out in 2020. And that is number 1, The Great British Baking Show. This show is on Netflix. It is what it sounds like. It is a baking show. Yes, me, Carlos, grown man, loves a baking show. Why? Because it's British. And British people have cool accents and they create the most beautiful and delicious looking things. I hope one day I can bake something like that, but it's funny, it's good. I recommend that show. Also, number 2 kind of threw you a curveball. It's actually not a series. I think you're thinking episodes and series, but this one is it's a show, it's a Broadway show. My number 2 is Hamilton. Shoot your shot, right? Hamilton came out on Disney Plus. Shout out to Verizon for giving me that 1-year subscription. Enjoyed it very much. Super inspiring. You're gonna wanna rap and write about American history after watching Hamilton. And last but not least, drum roll please. My number 3 recommended show that came out in 2020 is The Mandalorian. If you know, you know. This is the way. Shout out to all my Star Wars fans. Hey, there's a lot of you out there. There is a lot of you that are huge fans of this show. I came to the party late. I had not watched any Star Wars movies until 2020. That's the impact that The Mandalorian had on my life. Kind of changed me forever. But I know that people are huge fans of the Star Wars and huge fans of The Mandalorian. And we have to ask ourselves, why? Is it the graphics? Probably. Is it the story? Probably. But one of the things that's true is that we as human beings, we are fascinated with things outside of our world. Anything otherworldly, I think we are intrigued by. Different universe, other planets, other life forms. Man, we really lean into that. We are interested in that. There is a fascination of things not of this world. Well, did you know that Jesus actually mentions that we are not of this world? Did you know that Jesus actually mentions another world? Yes, he does that. In John 17, the prayer that we started to look at last week, he mentions this reality of being from another world. And I want to dive into that today. Will you dive into that with me? John 17, we read a prayer that Jesus prays, and it's a significant prayer because, as I said last week, it's the prayer that he prays right before getting arrested, and he includes us in it. A prayer right before he's arrested includes us in it. I think it's important that we consider it for what it means for us. So let's read. John 17:13 begins. But now I am coming to you, and these things I speak in the world, that they may have my joy fulfilled in them. I have given them your word, and the world has hated them, because they are not of the world, just as I am not of the world. I do not ask that you take them out of the world, but that you keep them from the evil one. They are not of the world, just like I am not of the world. Sanctify them in truth. Your word is truth. As you sent me into the world, so I have sent them into the world. And I laugh because I've been made fun of how I say the word world. It's my Latino accent coming out a little bit. Or maybe it has nothing to do with me being Latino, but me just not knowing how to use my tongue. But anyways, this is in this prayer, there's one of the truths that I want us as an eYouth family to grab hold of early in 2021. And it's my bottom line. It's this: we are not of this world, so we shouldn't act like it. If anything, 2020 revealed is that we need more of Jesus and less of this world. I reflected last week on how 2020 really for me was the year of division. I just felt like people were so divided on so many different issues, and upon further reflection, I realized that much of this was fueled because humans, you and I, we tend to make the mistake of putting our hope and our wisdom and our futures and our beliefs in broken systems, broken ideologies, and these are the things of this world. When Jesus says uses the word world, he's talking about the broken man-made systems that lead to messed up government systems, failed education systems, twisted religious systems, and anything outside of God's design and that people think will bring them happiness and peace. And Jesus makes it clear that that ain't it. These broken systems are what give people false hope. And that is what Jesus is saying that he's not a part of. I repeat, we are not of this world, and we shouldn't act like it. Now, I don't know about you, but this news, this declaration, this truth, man, it gives me hope, because I find comfort in knowing that I am not aligned or attached or have to put all my hope in the broken systems and the broken madness that 2020 revealed. But we have to ask as followers of Christ, a critical question. When Jesus says that we are not of this world, does it mean that we are to stand against the world? Does it mean that we are to be anti-world, like some people are anti-vaccine? Ding ding, pandemic joke. I'll be here all night. So what does it mean? What does it look like for us to be not of this world as Jesus was not of this world? How are we to relate to this world while we're still on it? Well, I want to show you guys something real special. This is actually our wedding book. As you can see, it's a globe, right? What do you think of when you think of this? Well, I think of world, right? There's a globe, you think of world. But as you can see, this globe has a bunch of signatures that represent the closest people in our lives. So this was the day of our wedding. These are people that are attended our wedding. So obviously they're people that we love so dearly. Well, when Jesus says, I'm not of this world, he's talking about systems. But when John 3:16 says, for God so loved the world, I believe that he's talking about the individuals in it. And just like I would want to love and do everything I can for the people that wrote on this globe, that is how we are to consider the world. Right? We're not a part of the systems and the false beliefs, and we don't act like the world. But when it comes to loving the individuals in it, just like I feel about these signatures, that's how we are to feel about those that are inside of the church and outside of the church. We are called to love people the way God has loved us. It also says in Matthew 5:14 that you and I, when we decide to follow Jesus, we now get the privilege of being the light of the world. And so how can we be anti? How can we be against? And at the same time, be light and ambassadors and influencers for Jesus? Notice that Jesus prays in his prayer specifically, I do not ask that you take them out of the world, but that you keep them from the evil one. I believe that what Jesus is saying is that we are called not to be influenced by the world, but to influence the world for Jesus. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
So our challenge and our privilege is that we get to live not as a part of the world, but as Christ's ambassadors and influencers. You and I, we are influencers. That's cool, right? And because we are influencers for Jesus, we get to live out the better system that God has designed for all humanity. And what are those better systems? Better systems like forgiveness, like when we are called to bless and pray for our enemies instead of seeking vengeance. Better systems like self-control, that instead of just doing everything that our flesh and our hearts desire, but we actually submit to the will of what God says we should be doing with those desires. Better systems like generosity, instead of living a life of selfishness and selfishness and self-focus, we are living generous and selfless. Jesus has better systems than the systems of this world. And we get to live for Jesus, and in doing so, we set ourselves apart from the ways of this world. We don't live for this world. We live for Jesus. Jesus is keeping us, he made it clear, Jesus is keeping us in this world so that we can show love and light for the human beings that are still broken and hurting and trapped by it. You and I, we have the privilege of being the hands and feet of Jesus. We are the influencers for the Jesus brand. The simplest way to do this is to live a life of loving the God of the Bible and loving others, no matter what they believe or what they smell like. So not being of this world means we don't place our hope in it, so when things go south, we're not devastated. And when things go really well, we know that the best days do not satisfy. And with that point, reminds me of one of my favorite quotes by C.S. Lewis that reads like this: if I don't find in myself desires which nothing in this world can satisfy, the only logical explanation is that I was made for another world. Living as if not of this world means we don't form deep alliances with anything in the world. Nothing in this world defines us. Not our country, not our ethnicity, not our gender, not our accomplishments. Nothing defines us more than Jesus. And living like this, my friends, this truly is the way. Hey, I want to thank you guys for joining us here at Beanie Talks. We do this every Sunday. We premiere every Sunday at 10:30. Hopefully you got to watch this and engage with us in the comments. I also want to invite you to what we're doing on Wednesday nights. We have our in-person and online 6:30 p.m. hangout. So come online or in person and be a part of what's happening if you are in the 7th or 12th grade. And lastly, I want to remind you to go and be the church.
Keeping it moving, keeping it moving. What are we doing?